All right, welcome to this session. In this session, we'll talk about glucose transporters. Okay, so we'll talk about glucose transporter. This is where we stopped the last time. Now, glucose transporter is divided into two main types. We have secondary active transport, and facilitated transport. Facilitated what? Transport. Okay, so these are the two main types of glucose transporter. Remember we said that for glucose to enter the cell, it needs a what? A transporter. That's what brought us to this place. Now I'm telling you now that there are two main types of glucose transporter. Secondary active transporters and facilitated diffusion or facilitated transporters. Okay. Now these secondary active transporters, they are also called sodium dependent glucose transporters. It means that they depend on the gradient of sodium for the movement of glucose. What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to say that in order for glucose to enter the cell, it depends indirectly on sodium potassium ATPase pump. Okay, so that is the mechanism behind it. As sodium is being taken into the cell, glucose is what? Taken alongside with it. Okay, that's what we mean by secondary active transport. It depends on ATP indirectly. And there are just two transporters in this class, just two main ones. Transporters include S-GLUT1 and S-GLUT2. Okay, S-GLUT1 and S-GLUT2. S-GLUT1 is found in the small intestine. S-GLUT2 is found in the kidney. Okay, in the PCT, proximal convoluted tubules of the kidney. Are you there now? So we have S-GLUT1 and S-GLUT2. Take note of this, S-GLUT1 and S-GLUT2. Okay, S-GLUT1 in the small intestine, S-GLUT2 in the kidney. S here stands for sodium dependent, so they are sodium dependent glucose transporters. Are you there now? Okay, so this is for the S-GLUT. They are secondary active transporters. They depend indirectly on ATP. Is that clear? All right. Now come to this side. Come to the facilitated transporters. The facilitated transporters, they don't depend on sodium. Okay, they don't depend on sodium. They don't depend on ATP at all. So yeah, the ones that are important for you include GLUT1, GLUT2, GLUT3, GLUT4, GLUT5, and GLUT7. Are you there now? So GLUT1, GLUT2, GLUT3, GLUT4, GLUT5, and GLUT7. Now, if you notice, I didn't put S-GLUT because why? They don't depend on sodium. They don't depend on sodium, okay? So now, GLUT1 is found in all cells. All cells contain GLUT1. It is for the basal uptake of glucose. For the basal uptake of glucose. So, for the what? Basal uptake of glucose. So when cells want to take up glucose on their normal state, when the glucose level is within normal range, they use what GLUT1. But when the glucose is high, then the cell can switch to GLUT4 because GLUT4 is usually expressed when glucose level is high. We'll get to that. But for now, believe me that GLUT1 is for the basal uptake of glucose. Are you there? All right. So that's for GLUT1. It's found in all cells. All cells have GLUT1. Now, come to GLUT3. GLUT3 is found mainly in nerve cells, in neurons. That's where you see GLUT3. GLUT3 is found majorly in what? In nerve cells. Okay? It is also for the basal uptake of glucose, just that it is more concentrated in the neurons. Is that clear? All right. Now, another simple one you can easily remember is GLUT5. Now, take note that GLUT5 is not a glucose transporter. Yes, you are seeing GLUT there. You are seeing GLUT there, but don't be deceived. It is not a glucose transporter. Rather, it is a fructose transporter. It transports what? Fructose and not glucose. Okay? And it is seen in sperm cells. Okay? sperm cell, there is testis. Okay, that's where you see it more. Group 5, it is a what? A fructose transporter. This is an MCQ question. Group 5 is a what? A fructose transporter. Is that clear? All right. Now, other ones you can easily remember again is GLUT7. Now, GLUT7 is found in the endoplasmic reticulum. In the what? Endoplasmic reticulum, GLUT7. We'll get to know about GLUT7 when we do gluconeogenesis, when we want to release glucose into the blood. We see it again. It is specifically located in the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay? So there's a particular condition whereby if there's no GLUT7, it will lead to a disease condition. When we get to glycogen storage diseases, there's one type of it, one subtype that has something to do with GLUT7 transporter. Is that clear? All right. Now, GLUT2, so we're left with GLUT2 and GLUT4. So just to recap, GLUT1 is found in all cells. Is that clear? GLUT1 is found in all cells and is for the basal uptake of glucose. GLUT3 is found mainly in nerve cells, mainly in the neurons. GLUT5, I said, is a fructose transporter seen in sperm cells. Is that clear? While GLUT7 is located in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Are you getting it now? Okay. So we're left with GLUT2 and GLUT4. Okay. Now let's start with GLUT2. GLUT2, I will say something now. GLUT2 is found in any tissue that can do gluconeogenesis. Now you want to ask me, what are those tissues that can do gluconeogenesis? When we get to gluconeogenesis, you will get to know them. But just believe me now that those tissues include the kidney, or let's start with the liver first. The liver, the kidney, the small intestine, and pancreas. Okay? Kidney, small intestine, liver, pancreas. Although the pancreas does not do gluconeogenesis, but it also has GLUT2. Okay? So the kidney, the liver, the small intestine, and the pancreas. These are the tissues that are GLUT2. But only the liver, kidney, and small intestine is responsible for gluconeogenesis. But just remember that tissues that can do gluconeogenesis are GLUT2 transporter. Is that clear? All right. So that is for that. The next thing now we'll talk about is GLUT4. Okay. Now GLUT4 is actually not always present on the cell membrane. What am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to say that GLUT4 usually get induced by insulin. Do you get it now? GLUT4 usually get what? Induced by insulin. So if, for example, this is a muscle cell, imagine this is a muscle cell, okay? Now, when you just finish eating, your blood glucose level will go up. It's going to increase. Now, what did I tell you is for the basal uptake of glucose? What is that transporter that is for the basal uptake of glucose? I believe you want to say GLUT1. Okay, meaning GLUT1 is responsible for the basal uptake when the glucose level is within normal range. But when the glucose level increases, you will need extra transporters. Okay, you will need what? Extra transporters. Those extra transporters you need is what we call GLUT4. So GLUT4 will be induced. Initially, they were intracellular vesicles. They are transporters in intracellular vesicles. But when insulin is released, you know, when you just finish eating, your levels of insulin in the blood will increase. Now, insulin will come to this muscle cell and induce this vesicle to what? To move towards the periphery, such that when they move towards the periphery, they will fuse with the periphery and attach more transporters to the outside. Are you seeing it now? What am I trying to tell you in essence? I'm trying to say that GLUT4 were initially present on vesicles inside the cell. It is when insulin came and stimulated that cell that this vesicle moved to the outside and fused with the cell membrane. Are you getting it now? Then we now have more transporters. These newly formed transporters is what we call GLUT4. So in simple words, GLUT4 were initially intracellular vesicles. They were initially transporters on intracellular vesicles that get stimulated by the presence of insulin. Now they will now ask you a question that which of the following glucose transporter is hormonal dependent. Are you there? I believe you want to say GLUT4. The next thing they will ask you, where is it found? I just tell you one, it's found in the muscle. Is that clear? It's found in where? In the muscle, specifically skeletal muscle. Let's be specific. Mainly what? Skeletal muscle. Then it's also found in adipose tissue. Adipose tissue. So MCQ for you now, they will ask you the following tissue, the uptake of glucose in the following tissue is hormonal dependent. The uptake of glucose in the following tissue is hormonal dependent. Please just look for skeletal muscle and adipose tissue, okay? Because they depend on insulin to stimulate, to induce GLUT4 production so that they will uptake what? Glucose. Okay? This is what actually goes wrong in type 2 DM patient, type 2 diabetic patient. Okay? They are no longer sensitive to insulin. That's why the glucose level keep on piling up in the blood, leading to all the complications you know about diabetes. Is that clear now? All right. So that is for that. Then I think that is all about the glucose transporter. In this video, I have explained to you what glucose transporter is. They are responsible for the uptake of glucose into the cell, and there are two main categories. We have the secondary active transporter and the facilitated what? Transporter. I said that the secondary active transporter, they depend on ATP indirectly. So they are sodium dependent glucose transporter. While your facilitated transport, they don't depend on ATP. That's why you are not going to see S in their name. Rather, you will see just GLUT. So we have GLUT1, GLUT2, GLUT3, GLUT4, GLUT5, and GLUT7. These are the ones that are important for you. Okay, now I said GLUT1 in all cells, GLUT2 in cells that can do gluconeogenesis, of which we listed the kidney, the liver, and the small intestine. Then also I mentioned the pancreas, although the pancreas is not responsible for gluconeogenesis, but it also has GLUT2. Then we move to GLUT3, mainly in nerve cells, move to GLUT4, capable of being induced, GLUT5, fructose transporter, and lastly, we talk about GLUT7, which is found in the endoplasmic reticulum. For the secondary active transporter, we have just S-GLUT1 and S-GLUT2. I said S-GLUT1 is found in the small intestine, to be specific, on the luminal side of the small intestine, because the small intestine has the enterocyte of the small intestine. Imagine this is an enterocyte. It has the luminal part, the part that is facing the lumen, and it has the basal part. So on this luminal part, this is where you see S-GLUT1, but on the basal part, you will see GLUT2. Do you remember that GLUT2 is found in the small intestine? I believe you remember. And you also remember that S-GLUT1 is also found in the small intestine, but they are in different locations. I just told you now. Let me repeat it again. S-GLUT1 on the luminal part, GLUT2 on the basal part of the cell. Okay, so that is all for now. In the next video, we kickstart glycolysis pathway proper. It will be very simple. It's very simple. I'll try to simplify it for you. So do it to click the like button and subscribe. Thank you very much.